In traditional project environments, leadership is often imagined as a person at the top of a pyramid, making decisions, giving orders, and expecting the team to execute. But in Agile, the model gets flipped upside down. Leadership is not about controlling people, but about enabling them. And one concept captures the shift better than any other: servant leadership. The servant leader is not the commander at the top, but the foundation underneath. They don't lead by directing, they lead by supporting. Their power doesn't come from authority, but from service. The question they ask every day is not what can the team do for me, but how can I help? The term servant leadership was first coined by Robert Greenleaf in the 70s, but its relevance has grown significantly in the context of Agile. Greenleaf described a servant leader as someone whose primary motivation is to serve others. Leadership, in this view, is a natural consequence of service, not the other way around. This mindset is now a cornerstone of Agile practice. In fact, the Scrum Guide explicitly defined the Scrum Master as a servant leader for the Scrum team. But servant leadership goes far beyond a single role. It's a cultural stance that applies to product owners, Agile coaches, project managers, and even team members themselves. It shouldn't be a job title, it's a way of working. Let's unpack what servant leadership really looks like in practice. It begins with listening and empathy. Servant leaders take the time to understand their team's concerns, motivations, and needs. They listen without judgment and with curiosity. In a retrospective, for example, a servant leader doesn't dominate the discussion or steer it towards their own ideas. Instead, they ask open questions, like what's getting in your way, or how can I help? Then comes humility and selflessness. Servant leaders don't seek the spotlight. They share success and take accountability when things go wrong. Imagine a team that just released a product on time and on budget. A servant leader will credit the team for the achievement. If a mistake happens in the same release, the servant leader won't look for someone to blame. They'll own the failure and help the team learn from it. Another key aspect is empowerment. Servant leaders delegate authority, not just tasks. They trust the team to make decisions. If someone asks, "What should we do?" the servant leader might respond with, "What do you think is the best course of action?" This encourages self-organization and builds confidence. In Agile teams, this kind of empowerment fuels innovation and speeds up decision-making. And then there is the role of coaching and development. A servant leader is also a mentor. They help team members grow, not just in their roles, but in their potential. They look for opportunities to stretch people's skills, support their learning, and build a team that gets stronger over time. Let's take an example from a hybrid project environment. Imagine a project manager leading a team that blends Agile and waterfall components. The deadlines are fixed, the deliverables are predefined. But within those constraints, a servant leader still creates space for empowerment. They'll ask their Agile team how they want to structure their sprint reviews. They'll encourage a waterfall team member to raise a process improvement. They'll remove barriers, not build walls. There are some powerful real-world cases that show what this looks like. At Microsoft, when Satya Nadella became CEO, he deliberately moved the company culture from competition to collaboration. His leadership style? Listening first, asking how he can help and modeling the behavior he wanted to see. The result? More cohesion, more innovation, and a company that redefines itself. And in Agile organization, servant leadership shows up in the daily stand-up, where the leader's job is to listen, not to lead. In retrospectives, where they create a safe space for vulnerability. In backlog grooming session, where they coach the product owner instead of dictating priorities. So why does this matter so much in Agile? Because Agile values individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And servant leadership is what brings that value to life. In a healthy Agile culture, people feel psychologically safe. They are not afraid to speak up, take risks, and admit mistakes. They are encouraged to try, to fail, to learn, and to improve. Servant leaders are stewards of that culture. They create the space where agility can thrive. They also foster alignment, We know that autonomy without alignment leads to chaos, but alignment without autonomy leads to disengagement. Servant leadership solves that tension by clearly communicating purpose and vision, the why, and then trusting the team to figure out the how. Servant leaders create teams that are both empowered and coordinated. This mindset is especially valuable in hybrid project environments. Servant leaders can act as bridge between traditional planning and agile flexibility. They can manage constraints while still promoting team growth. For instance, while coordinating a milestone-driven roadmap, a servant leader might still coach the team to self-organize the iteration plan. They don't compromise on accountability, but they deliver it in a people-centered way. The impact of this leadership style is not just cultural, it's measurable. Studies show that teams led by servant leaders are more productive, more engaged, and more innovative. Organizations that embed servant leadership in their cultures, like Zappos, Microsoft, and others, often report higher morale, lower turnover, and greater customer satisfaction. While we've described servant leadership primarily from the perspective of a project manager or formal leader, it's important to emphasize that these behaviors are not limited to those with the leadership titles. In an agile team, every member can and should practice servant leadership in how they approach their own work and how they support their colleagues. Listening with empathy, offering help proactively, sharing knowledge, and removing obstacles for others are not exclusive responsibilities of the project lead. They are shared values across the team. When every team member acts with a mindset of service, collaboration strengthens, trust deepens, and the team as a whole becomes more resilient and effective. So the next time you are in a project role, whether Scrum Master, Project Manager, Product Owner, or Coach, ask yourself not what should the team do, but how can I help? That's the question that turns a manager into a servant leader. And that's the kind of leadership Agile needs to flourish.